We are back. And look, the last time we ever did YouTube, I was living in downtown San Diego. But now, look, I'm living in small town Delano. A lot of you don't even know where Delano stands in the map in California, but that's where we're at now. I'll tell you guys something, that going from living in a big city to a small town now, as a business owner, it's been a change. And what I want to do is I want to show you guys what that change looks like when it comes to the pros and cons of living in a big city to living in a small town. Let's talk about how I got here. I was living in Bakersfield and I had gotten evicted twice from my apartment. I had just gone through a divorce. I was at my worst, my lowest point of my life. And shortly after that, I was forced to move back in with my parents in Salinas, California. And unfortunately, I was down and out. Now, it was about a year in 2020 where I reached a breaking point where I just decided I needed to change my life. It was not the person that I wanted to be. It was not the life that I wanted to live. And at that moment is when I started picking up the books, when I started working out, working on myself, and when I started to be interested in entrepreneurship. I wanted to be a business owner. I knew that in the current city and town that I was in, that was probably going to be a lot more challenging because of the resources, because of the relationships that I already had. So for me, what worked for me was finding a mentor, finding someone that can guide me, that can coach me. And at that time, I decided to head out to downtown LA. That's where I started my entrepreneurship journey. I stayed and lived in downtown LA for about a year and a half. Shortly after that, I moved to downtown San Diego. Beautiful place, beautiful city, and I lived there for about another year and a half. Shortly after that, I'm now moving back to Delano to start my family, small town, and it's a big change. And so I'm gonna tell you guys some of the pros and cons of living in a big city compared to a small town. So I literally went from being surrounded by skyscrapers, overlooking Coronado, the Padres Stadium, to now being surrounded by cows and fields. So when it comes to living in a big city, metropolitan city to be exact, here's 3 pros that I found. Number 1, you have a big customer base, meaning that, you do live in a city where it's a lot bigger, you have a lot more potential clients, and you have a lot more people that you can prospect to. Number 2, you have a lot more access to resources. This is the number 1 reason why I decided to move to a metropolitan city like downtown LA. It was the reason that I was able to access information that I knew in my small town that I was born and raised, I wasn't gonna be able to obtain. And number 3, you have your greater exposure. Look, let's keep it real. Maybe your favorite YouTuber, actor, or musician is currently living in LA, and the reason is because LA just seems to be the town where everybody that wants to be somebody moves to. So what this does is allows for more collaboration with somebody who may already have the information that you're looking for, or may already have the following that you're looking for if you are looking to become an influencer or entrepreneur. Now, there is some cons from living in a big metropolitan city, and here they are. So we got your higher costs. Now, inflation has been through the roof, and especially if you're a business owner, this can be a huge overhead cost in just a office alone. I'll give you guys an example. When I was living and working in downtown LA, we had an office space, maybe 600 square foot. We're paying over $4,000 a month on a small office space. Now, it wasn't a skyrise in the middle of downtown LA, but to tell you guys, the expense was there. Now, number 2, you do have your stiff competition. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you do live in a big city, then you are gonna have a lot more competition, because chances are that whatever you're pursuing to do, there is thousands and thousands and thousands of other individuals actually doing it or have been doing it for longer than you have. Number 3, you have your traffic. You see, I was pretty fortunate because when I moved was 2020, 2021, so the traffic wasn't as bad because, as you all know, that was a period of time where a lot of us were in shutdown because of COVID, right? And so the reason being is, traffic can definitely play a huge role. I mean, I tell you guys that getting from point A to point B in LA takes 3 or 4 times longer than getting from point A to point B in a small town. But let's talk about the small towns now. Number 1, you got your tight-knit community. In the small towns, you're able to collaborate a lot more in small community events, which will give you more exposure compared to big cities. Number 2 is your lower overhead. So what this means as a business owner is that you can potentially have higher profit margins because the cost of leasing an office is a lot less compared to a metropolitan city. And then the third one is less competition. Typically, if you're in a smaller town, there may be a lot less people doing what you're planning to do. So if you're a business owner, you're opening up a shop, or you're working in real estate or as a lender, possibilities is that there's a lot less people doing what you're doing, so less competition, more clients for you. Here's some of the cons of living in a small town. You have limited market, meaning that there's only so much that you have available. There's only so many people that you can prospect to because the towns are a little bit smaller. A lot of the talent typically wants to move to metropolitan cities because they're higher paying job. So if you are a business owner and you're looking for help or you're looking to hire someone, it might be a little bit more challenging to find someone in a smaller town. Number 3 is your limited access to resources. So this is the number one reason why, as I mentioned, I moved from Salinas to downtown LA, because the resources that I had in a smaller town weren't going to be sufficient enough to help me grow as fast as I wanted to. So there you have it. These are the pros and cons of going from a small town to a big city. But at the end of the day, I'm a huge believer that those who want to really achieve success, those who really want to make it, will figure it out and we'll find a way, whether you're living in a small town or you're living in a big city. That's it. So if you guys found this information valuable, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We're going to be posting a lot more content like this. And on the comment section, give me some referrals on some of the topics that you guys want to go over. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.